Welcome to the Joe Pontillo Show, episode 15, part 6. I've lost track, to be honest. And if you've watched the show, if you've watched every episode of the show, I should be giving you money. Or follow you on social media at the very least. I don't know. Stand-up comedy is all about, hey, you're doing that thing? Can I do it? Or, hey, if you do this thing for me, I'll do the same thing for you. And that's great. And I guess that's a good way to do it. I worked last night with an older comedian, started comedy in the 80s. And, basically he's doing so well right now that he's had to take a day job. So, it's kind of like The Sopranos when Tony says, there's two ends for a guy like me, dead or in the can. And I feel like stand-up comedy, you have like three options. Like A, you become sort of famous. B, you die. Or C, you just get a really terrible job. when comedy just suddenly ceases to pay the bills. I suppose comedy pays some bills for me. Not all of them. Maybe like one bill a month. That's about it. Maybe my phone bill. It might cover my phone bill at the very least. Proud to say that I have been off my parents' phone plan since at least 2005. That's one victory I feel very excited about. A lot of people can't say that nowadays, but I can. But this show, I only really, no one, kind of like the name of my last special, no one asked for this. No one really asked me to do this show. It's just something to do. Just to fill the void. Most importantly, it's about filling the void of YouTube. Because, you can post content everywhere else, but then you go back to YouTube and you're looking at your 513 subscribers and, they're not going to all watch the shorts you post. So you got to give them some kind of full-length feature episodic to whet their appetites or something. Is that even the right phrase? It doesn't really matter. But, out of all the social media sites, I probably think the one I've given up on the most is YouTube, which is particularly funny because I think YouTube was the first, I guess really there was MySpace that I joined in like 2005. My whole thing with social media accounts back in the day was, I'd be like, they're stupid. MySpace is stupid. Facebook is stupid. I'll never join those. And then suddenly I joined them and then became completely obsessed with them. What a ride MySpace was. Do you remember MySpace? You could have your gig calendar. Like you could put your calendar, your comedy calendar up on MySpace. It was amazing. And certain comedians who shall not be named, Brian McGinnis, maybe a couple other people, would get angry because I would literally list every single show I was doing. And obviously I was new at comedy, so most of the shows were unpaid. Some of them maybe were open mics. I didn't really do a lot of open mics. The only open mic I regularly did, for years I did it, was the Wednesday, I think it was like 10 o'clock open mic at the Village Lantern. And I feel like I would do it and I would either bomb or I would inexplicably have a great set. But then I feel like when I'd have a great set, I'd be like, oh, awesome. But this is an open mic, so maybe that means these jokes only work for other comedians. Back in the day, or even if you leave New York City, you do an open mic, and there's actual human audience members instead of subhuman comedians who have all paid $5 and are just staring at their notebooks or their phones the entire time. Luckily, when I started doing comedy, it was like, 2006, 2007, and people weren't looking at their phones that much because mainly there wasn't enough to look at on their phones at that time. So Yeah, and I think my biggest moment at the Village Lantern open mic was somehow they would do like some raffle at the end of the mic, and then somebody would win, and they would win at least like half the money. So like, if like 25 guys showed up to do, or people showed up to do comedy, there'd be $100-something. And I won it one week, and I was like, yeah, paid gig, suck it, haters. So it was great. And then I never did the mic again, because once you get paid like $60 from doing open mic, there's really nowhere to go but down. What am I going to go back to doing the open mic for -$5 last week? An open mic should be free. Maybe just buy a drink. I don't know. Because, like, this is why when I started doing comedy, there was this, like, fake attempt to get, like, a stand-up comedy union going. And all it did was make some of the clubs in New York City increase the spot pay from, like, $25 to $27 or something like that. Or the price it cost to buy Manhattan in 1643. Whatever it is. Anyway, well, thanks for tuning in here for the Joe Pontillo Show. Let's hit that logo and jump into some other stuff. The Joe Pontillo Show is brought to you by Hurricane, I guess. Yeah, we haven't really talked. I should have Dave on this show. That would probably be fun if he can take 5 seconds to stop sending me reels on Instagram. Love you, Dave. And his wife Linda and their son John, Jack, whatever. He just got married. I went to their wedding. It was a whole thing. It's great how you I've made fans in comedy, and then my fans sort of became my friends. And I feel like this just doesn't happen. It's one thing when you have the audience member that comes up to you after the show and just starts telling you their life story. And and you can't, no matter what, you can't get away from that person. Like, I did a show at a club back in November, and some guy came up to me after the show and just would not stop talking to me. It kept going for a long time, and then all of a sudden we were talking about the Bolshevik Revolution, and at that point I had to kind of give a look to the club owner, and he came over and he was like, "Okay, buddy, let's get you back home." So I was talking last night with this comic that I mentioned earlier, and he said, the comedy boom in the 80s died in the mid-90s, and this new comedy boom just won't die. What's that about? And what I think is why I think comedy is not only thriving right now, it almost seems like it's getting stronger and bigger and more dangerous, is, first of all, podcasts. People listen to podcasts and they go, wow, these comedians, they think like me. I should go see comedy shows. Also, I think because so many people do comedy now, that everyone either knows someone who does comedy or knows of someone who does comedy. Like, they might not personally know them, but they're like, oh yeah, my coworker's cousin does comedy. Like, it's so close. So in a way, it's as if we've created this huge thing where everybody wants to go see comedy and support comedy because they're like, well, I might know somebody who's performing. Maybe that was my insane theory. I think that's not entirely wrong, but whatever. So I mentioned, getting paid to do an open mic. And I don't remember where that fell on my level of paid gigs in the early days. My first paid gig was $50 in a basement. My second paid gig was $5 performing at some small little club in New York City where there were 5 people in the audience, and all 5 of them were friends of mine. And I hosted. So it wasn't like I just went up and did, 10 minutes for my friends. No, they got to see me host the show, try to warm them up, and get them ready to see other comedians who were not me. And you would have thought maybe one extra person would have showed up at some point. No, it was just my 5 friends watching me host a show. So doing my 8 to 10 minutes up front, and then largely just bringing up other comedians. Because, you're not going to do time in between. Because it's like, hey guys, what that guy just said, let's riff off that. It's my friends. They don't want to see me riff. And I hope I didn't do crowd work. I honestly can't remember. I have to go check my journal from that show and see like what I wrote about that, because that was really ridiculous. And then after the show, the guy who ran the place goes, I'll put you on the next show if you can convince your friends to stay and watch a whole nother show. However, I will waive their cover, but they'll still have to buy 2 drinks. And I said, my friends have given enough. It is time to go. I was, I feel like it was hard enough to get them to come to one comedy show. Imagine going, hey, so that last show where you were the only 5 people, want to do that again? 90% chance you won't be the only 5 people. Oh my God. So, and then I think my third paid gig was in Middletown, New York at a Holiday Inn where the guy running the place still billed himself as like a vaudeville act. Or not Catskills, sorry, Borscht Belt. One of those things. Not vaudeville, that wouldn't make any sense. Stewie Sobel, I wonder if he's still out there somewhere. I feel like I found him on Facebook some years ago, but... So the YouTube situation. So I got on YouTube in, I guess I joined in about 2006. And I mainly joined YouTube because It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia had just come out. And FX did a contest where they were basically saying, everything that I did early in my career was because there was a contest. The first time I ever tried comedy, it's because there was a contest to see who was the funniest student at Hofstra, and they were going to open for Dave Chappelle. So if that had never happened, I probably wouldn't have tried to fart into a microphone at Hofstra, USA. So now we're in 2006. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. FX, hey, we want to find the next It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Shoot your best 5-minute pilot and put it on YouTube, which was great. So I did the Joe Pontillo show. And, it was, I actually conned my whole family into being in it. That was like the only time I got my entire, my family's been in other things, but that was the first time I got them to play themselves or a version of themselves. Will never happen again. Maybe I'll get some of them to just, as long as they have no dialogue. They had actual dialogue. My mom had a line. My mom, who hates comedy and everything about it, had an actual line of dialogue in a thing I made once. Actually, twice. I forgot about it. I made a stupid movie called Frog Legs. And her and my dad came out and were like, sorry, son, we didn't read the fine print. And then they started crying. But yeah, I guess my mom is largely retired from acting. 2008, I think she was in the zombie movie that I made, Street of the Dead. But no lines. They were just, in a group of people. Speaking of Street of the Dead, it's available on YouTube. My friend Adam Gennari, formerly known as Hanky Valdoor, has his brother actually wants to show the movie at some theater he has, and which is just great. Let's do it. And that's very fun. So I shot Street of the Dead in 2008. Oh, I actually have a copy right here. Hold on a second. Street of the Dead. 2008. This was amazing. I think we actually had some DVDs where we printed something and we put like a zombie's face on this. But I guess I don't have that one. And what was really funny is when I first started like really going on the road in 2009, 2010, and I would sell these as merch after the show, which was probably very confusing because obviously my act had nothing to do with like zombies or horror. And then afterwards I was just like, yeah, buy this movie I made. And I feel like a lot of people probably bought it not even understanding what it was. They probably just thought like, this is his comedy album. or a comedy DVD. And then they were just like, oh God, I just bought this extremely low budget zombie movie. And so the zombies get made because someone ate it in an expired sandwich. And it was really weird because the movie Zombieland, which came out the same year or the year after, I forget, that zombie outbreak starts because somebody ate an old hamburger. And I remember my dad being like, they stole your idea! And maybe they did. I don't know, but that would have been insane. If this did get into some festivals. It got a really nice review on a website called buyzombie.com or something like that. We're also listed on the zombie movie database, and I'm pretty sure this movie is in a book. I don't think they really wrote anything about it. I kind of think it was like a book where they just wrote about random obscure zombie movies, and then one page was like, yeah, and here's a list of a bunch of other random zombie movies. I actually got to check the numbers on this. Yes, very good. Watchable, Angry Bob, Who Are You, Spoon, Get Out of My House, TJ Duncan, I Made This Movie, Joe Pontillo. Good stuff. Go watch it on YouTube. But see, here's what YouTube has created, and really all of social media. It's created a platform where nobodies, and I was a nobody. Now I'm like somewhere between a nobody and a somebody. And but it's created a platform where people who are not in entertainment can post funny things, and then people who are in entertainment who get paid to write and entertain then see those and go, ha, I'm gonna steal that. You know, it's definitely happened multiple times with SNL, because God knows SNL writers don't have any of their own ideas, so they're just stealing from YouTube. And, you know, and I don't want to say I get it, because SNL is in this situation where by the time they come out on Saturday, everyone's already made jokes about everything. So there you go. And then I think my tweets have been stolen by like multiple, like, you know, satire news sites. I've seen similar things of mine stolen by, you know, not stolen per se, but very similar. Not only The Onion, but the Babylon Bee. You know, I'm going both sides of the political spectrum here. That's how good my jokes are. Anybody could take that. So, and then what do? You just, you know, respond to the tweet, go, that was funnier when I wrote it 3 weeks ago. No one responds, and then somebody shows up at your door. But what are you going to do? So, YouTube sucks. It does. It sucks. I'm sorry. Maybe I needed to post more on it when I started. And, you know, I had like 200 to 300 subscribers up until like, I don't know, maybe the pandemic. And then I got a bunch during the pandemic because comedians, I think, were doing things like subscribe to me on YouTube and then I'll subscribe to you too. So I got in on some of those. I was also in this very sad group for a while where we would, you know, post a link to whatever our YouTube or Instagram video and go, guys, show this some love. And then you would get a bunch of, you know, likes and comments from that. You know, I don't need I mean, if you want to leave a comment, I'll take it, but, you know, whatever. I'd rather just watch the video and click like and make my numbers go up. And then I think my last special, No One Asked for This, I actually gained, I think, over 100 subscribers all told, which is pretty impressive. So, yeah, but, you know, when I got on YouTube, there was not a lot of people on YouTube. There wasn't a ton of content. So my first, like, several videos got thousands of views and people left comments. And then by, like, my fifth video, YouTube was becoming very oversaturated. And I went from getting, like, 2,000 to 3,000 or more views per video down to, like, 300 to 500. Which is still fine. I'd kill for that now. But it was quite a drop-off. And, you know, I wasn't posting things regularly. Because, you know, I've wasted my time watching videos on YouTube where they're just, how to get your YouTube to grow. And it's always like, post every day. Post 3 times a day. Get into a rhythm. And it's just like, you can't post I mean, you can, but no, it's not going to be good. You know, let's be real. And same thing with like Instagram. If you're posting Instagram and TikTok videos every day, like at best 2 or 3 of those are going to be funny and good. And who wants that? I would rather post 1 to 3 times a week and make sure everything's very good and funny. But that's not what people want. People want mediocrity. That's what it is. Damn you all. Damn you, the internet. Damn you, I don't know, Bill Gates. Who invented the Al Gore? Jail. Put them all in jail. It's over. We blew it. So, lo and behold, and the best part about YouTube is for the longest time, I was able to monetize my YouTube, but you could only monetize it with certain videos, and then you would only get paid once you reached, I think, $10. So I was like slowly earning money, and I was up to like $8, $9, and then YouTube changed the rules. They go, you can't monetize unless you have, whatever it is, 1,000 subscribers or 10,000 subscribers. So there's just $9 somewhere in my YouTube revenue stream somewhere that I'll just never get. Should I sue? Sound off in the comments. You won't. Doesn't matter. Anyway. So this is why I try to post on YouTube now. Because, I post shorts. The shorts largely do okay. And then you post, something full length. And unless it's of utmost importance, nobody's really seeing it. And it's fine. So, has this been one long rant this episode? I don't really know. But just wanted to, just got to put content out. Again, this is what people want. They want content that they're not going to watch. And if they do actually watch it, although, to be fair, I did a gig not too long ago, and the people who booked me on it, they went and they watched my last episode. They said, hey, we watched your episode, about the popes, and that gave us some funny ideas. And I was like, oh, that you actually... Because, people watch the show, and I'm like, I don't even remember what I say half the time, so who knows? Maybe I'm offending somebody. I just want to put this message out there. I am all about good stuff and positivity, and I support everyone, and I think this show going forward is probably just going to be nothing but me talking about cats, showing you some of my favorite cats, my past cats, potential future cats. That's what really kills on the internet, cats. I even did a spoof video one time of, LMAFO's shots, and it was cats. And it probably would have did better, except I found a spelling error right after we posted it, and then we didn't post it for like a week, and I feel like I just killed all the momentum. Also, the video came out like 7 years after the song did, so I think the time was past. But what are you going to do? It's fine. Not shout out, but CBS has informed me that they are they're not firing me, they're ending this podcast. They're not funding it in any way. They have no involvement whatsoever, but they sent me an email the other day and said, Joe, we're just doing away with YouTube podcasts, and you're done. So that's it. So Stephen Colbert, all of late night is gone, and it's for the best. Honestly, first of all, there's too many late night shows. Second of all, A, I don't know how Jimmy Fallon gets away with it. B, shout out to Christy Stefano, who for some reason is hosting Jimmy Kimmel's show. Good for him. Why not? I like Chris. We go way back. He still follows me on social media. If I sent him a message, he probably wouldn't respond, but it doesn't matter. And, we had Stephen Colbert, who I feel like was good when he was on The Daily Show, and now just been cringe for the whole entire time of, him being the host of that show. Just, and they had less and less comedians on, and then what they were doing is they were having comedians on, and Steven would just walk out of the studio in disgust and not even watch the comedians. Whereas in the old days, you did a late show, and the host would be like, come over here, you were funny. And then, punch you in the face or shake your hand or give you drugs. That doesn't happen anymore, because nothing matters, apparently. In the old days, you would do a late night TV show, and you were instantly at least somewhat famous. Now you do a late night TV show, the host doesn't even want to meet you, and you just make a bunch of enemies. That's basically, and you get a bunch of crappy comments on YouTube. Maybe you get a few fans, but people forget about you in 3 weeks. Things just happen too quickly. It's over. What can we say? Anyway, YouTube specials, YouTube shows, and making low-budget zombie movies that withstand the test of time. That's really what it's all about. All right. I didn't see the new Superman movie yet, but I've heard it's good. I want to see it. I don't care that there's so many characters in it. James Gunn said something that is having an issue with whether or not he wants to do Batman. And somebody asked him about the Dark Knight trilogy, and he's like, I don't even like those movies. Calm down, buddy. My take on the Dark Knight trilogy is Batman Begins is the best one. Sorry, it just is. The Dark Knight is an amazing movie. I just think it's a terrible Batman movie. Does that make any sense? Because Bruce Wayne and Batman, badass in the first movie. You're like, yeah, I'm going to be Batman. In the second movie, he's like, oh, a dog bit me, and the Joker's trying to kill my girlfriend, and then she's going to marry Harvey Dent. So he's kind of a whiny loser in the second movie. And in the third movie, he fought crime for like a year, and all of his cartilage is gone, which makes no sense, because that should take like 30 years, maybe 15 to 20 if you're crime fighting. And, and then he gets back into it, and it's he's a badass again. He's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna go after Bane, and then he gets crippled in a brilliant fight, and then the rest of the movie kind of sucks. It's like the first hour of The Dark Knight Rises is kind of amazing. It reminds me of Batman Begins, and then, Bane blows up a football field, and he's like, oh, let's go put Batman in a tunnel, in an underground prison in the middle of nowhere, and let's spend like 6 days doing this, and let's hook up TV, and then we're going to go back to Gotham, and I'm just going to sit around for like 4 months and wait. So, gets really stupid. Good ending. I remember getting choked up in the theaters. I'm not ashamed to admit that. Well, maybe next time. I think we're getting close to having a guest on the show. I can't wait. And got some good stuff coming up. Got Wednesday, July 30th at the Hideaway in Fire Island doing that show. You got to take a boat to get there, but it's worth it, or a ferry. We'll call it a ferry. And then we got July 31st. I'm doing a show in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. A rare event at Rita's on Huron Street, 7 o'clock show. Joe Pontillo and friends. So far, I just got Will Papora, and I'll probably get like one other person. And then Friday, August 1st, I'm doing Governors. It's been a while. Governors, the Giggle Room, where I first started and shot my first special. Not that they had any idea that that's what I was doing, but who cares? Delete your account. That's, I think, an 8 o'clock show. Tickets available. Go to that. And then Friday, August 8th, we're doing Michael's in Island Park. Another insane lineup. Go check that out. And I think I'm also in Floral Park and somewhere else on Long Island and Easton, Pennsylvania. And I give up! All right, that's the show. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, block me, whatever. Goodbye.